Well, glad to know you're still with us. Well, this is the point, the time, the moment, the segment that I have been waiting for, and I want to believe you're going to find it quite interesting. The thing is, while they are incredibly rare, there are a number of switched at birth stories that have captured the attention of the world over the years. These situations are hard and sometimes even impossible. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to dealing with them, and they can often be tragic even when the truth is revealed. Beg your pardon. In December 2016, Tammy Van Dyke, a mom from Minnesota, sued the hospital where her son was born in 2012 for the baby mix-up that occurred when she and her baby were patients. Now, this is what happened. Van Dyke's son was given to another mother who had recently given birth to twins and did not even notice that the baby boy she had been given was not actually her son. I mean, how many mothers would be able to notice? The other mother had Van Dyke's son with her for over 2 hours and even breastfed him before the mistake was realized. Both the baby boy and the mother who breastfed him were required to undergo extensive testing for HIV and hepatitis, as well as for other blood-borne pathogens that can be passed from body fluids. Now, this extensive testing took place over the course of an entire year, and this was what eventually prompted Van Dyke to sue the hospital. She claimed that she and her son had suffered emotional damage from the stress of trying to deal with the repercussions of the hospital's mistake. And this is just one out of many stories. I mean, there are so many stories even here in Nigeria. But then joining us today to talk about this is Dr. Akoni Abiola. It's good to have you, Dr. Akoni Abiola.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Akoni.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. So today we're looking at a baby swap, and we're also looking at paternity fraud. And to a very large extent, it feels that one of the two has more prominence, or let's say one of the two is usually or more in the news than the other. And sometimes it is when you start checking for paternity fraud, you try maybe unraveling what happened. That's when you then discover that maybe there was a baby switch somewhere. Now let's start with paternity fraud. What would you say about paternity fraud? Let's start from there. What causes it?
When we're talking about paternity fraud, or we can even use the word paternity mistake. That is a process of giving wrong child or a father claiming wrong child. There is a process whereby it depends on the couples, and it depends on the environmental influence, it depends on the cultural belief, and the intention that comes when it comes to paternity fraud. The intention is maybe from the mother, or sometimes even a group of people, maybe family, trying to have a kind of additions or financials attached to that baby, or a value to that pregnancy or that baby, or there's a challenges between the couples during the maybe relationship. That's when you see ways of coming with different ideas that result to paternity fraud, meaning getting in touch with the medical experts. Sometimes you can get a fraud through the laboratory that takes the sample, or the mother going behind to get a kind of attached or information, or wrong information, wrong sampling. Sometimes you take a wrong sampling from the baby or from the mother, or changing the name of the father. You understand? There are so many ways that contribute to when you are talking about paternity fraud.
Okay, now let's get to the main conversation for today, which is baby swap.
Yeah.
How prominent is it in Nigeria?
Baby swap is a known thing that happens, and is possible, that can happen, and is possible to be happened, because the environment we found ourselves, there is no proper is it documentation or processing that the mother or the family, even the health workers, that may have a kind of lapses that this thing can happen, but it's majorly occur when you have a facility, when you have more than 10, 20 delivery at the same time. But when you have a private facility whereby maybe the number of child being delivered within that process can be detailed, maybe 2 to 3 or 1, it will be very difficult to have a baby swap.
Let me take you on that statement you made. It say it happens more when you have probably in the public world where you have a lot of people.
Yes.
But then baby swap, most of the time or sometimes according to records,
yes,
it's an intentional act. You have somebody who probably in the hospital, we have nurses and doctors who, some of them, some now, who are perpetrators of this thing.
Yes.
So it's an intentional act. Probably you already know that this lady wants to give birth to a female child or a male child, and you've had females and you're still pregnant with a female, and then that swap happens. So what do we have to say about that particular incident?
You are right with intentional acts, but sometimes too, in a case where we have in a public environment, it's possible, not intentional, mistakenly, it's possible. It's not
negligent.
But it's not common. You understand? Okay. But that's why we have a bracelet, a ID tag, that probably the mother has an ID tag, and immediately the baby delivered, there's a tag on it. But there are sometimes there will be emergency. Maybe the baby comes out with congenital abnormality that you need to attend to immediately. As you are trying to save the mother and you are trying to save the baby at the same time, the baby needs to transfer from that place to another, maybe ICU or a special center. During that process, if you have like 2-3 babies at that process and you have short of staff, meaning that you need to transfuse blood, you need to do this, if care is not taken in that process, it's possible when you're having the same sex of the baby. Maybe you have a 3 or 4 a baby girl at the same time, and they have always similar crises. If care is not taken, it's possible, but it's not rare in some. Mostly it's intentional heart, and intentional heart you have to plan even before delivery. Maybe.
Okay, so before you go to intentional act, I think we should start from here, because I've heard of a situation where two babies were they were using the phototherapy machine, and at the end of the day there was a mix-up. So how do we address situations like that, since they are emergencies and we do not want these things to keep happening? That's
the purpose of the program today, that we need to create more awareness, and we need to make the mother or the family to be allowed to know their right and the steps to take when you are preparing to have a child, when the woman is pregnant, is that immediately the baby is out, the father can take. That's why they always request for relative when it comes to medical thing, that he's going to stand in for this. Are you the father? Are you the mother? Are you the mother-in-law? I mean, immediately the baby is out, they can take a picture of that baby.
Is that allowed?
It's allowed. Okay. It's a baby.
Even in the midst of the emergency?
Yes, in the midst of the emergency, you can do. That's even sometimes the father have to come into the labor room to witness, if he's allowed. You want to witness how your wife is being delivered and if there's any procedure. And luckily, when we're talking about even the cesarean section, the CS, we found out that that's why the idea of epidural, that you don't give general anesthetic to sedate a mother, and the mother will be there. Yes, she can probably see her baby, and that's why when the baby is out, immediately they put the baby on the mother's chest to have this bonding. You understand? This process, the mother can see. And another thing is, when it comes to natural thing, or when it comes to culture, there are things you see in baby that you know that this baby looks like this baby like. But if you are talking about child swab or paternity fraud, there are things whereby until when you do a DNA test can give you 100% what is.
Okay, let me take you on that. Are there telltale signs, things I can see maybe within the first few days that should make me suspect that maybe that child is not mine?
Yes.
So what are these signs?
It's not 100%
accurate.
Okay. But at least maybe 50-60%. It depends how smart the mother or the father or the family. And some family will tell you that, at least in our soul culture, when we have our baby, there are certain things we do, that if the baby fails to do those things, they will have a kind of signs. Even is allowed. Some family will tell you, doctor, nurses, please, if I have my baby, we don't use cold water, we use hot water. Some will tell you they have to use palm oil to do. These are culture that you can't take it away from them. That's their belief, and it's their baby, and they have right to have the other baby. And those conditions comes in individual. By the time a baby, some people will tell you that after the baby, they have to throw the baby on water. If the baby can float on the water, that's the baby. The baby just sink them. And if they do that,
medically, would you support that?
Yes, it's a cultural thing. It's,
So
it's
even,
part of,
even
it's
if
part of,
the culture is life
it's part of
threatening,
norm that you have to, yes.
even if life appears life threatening to that child, you'd still support.
The hospital will not allow that in the hospital premises.
Okay.
Okay.
But they will not even do it in front of you. But they will tell you that that's what they do. That's what they believe in, and that's what they've been doing, and it works for them, and that's their culture.
Well, there's something you mentioned earlier that in the case of emergency, and probably the baby comes out with something
Congenital abnormality that need to act
immediately,
yes.
and now probably they are short-staffed.
Yes,
everyone is running helter-skelter, so of
yeah,
course,
yes.
to safeguard this, not one, not two, not three.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the possibilities of is it a thing of the medical system, or you're a medical doctor, so I'm trying not to